So, guys, till we have other speakers join in, let's start off. So, guys, welcome to the Financial Summit Spaces. This is a bi-weekly space, the midweek one. This is where we look at what happened in the first 2 days of the week and make some sense out of it and try to figure out what's going to happen in the next 2 days. So, guys, before we start off, if you haven't visited Financial Summit website, do visit it. Financial Summit organizes once a year event, and the next one's going to be in Maldives in March 2025, and the tickets are on sale. If you sign up, you basically and attend the event, you get to meet a lot of people from different backgrounds, from traders to hedge fund managers to money managers, people from different part of industry, from financial industry as well as the fitness industry, nutrition industry. So it's a combination of a lot of things, and people who have done it, people who have gone there, you can ask them. Their reviews have always been good, and the poker nights are the best, organized by your very own Tone Ways. So, Tone, that was my lovely introduction as always. Let's start off away from Bitcoin today. Uh, let's start off, well, not away really. Let's start off with Bitcoin. Neelam Resources, one of the mining companies, and this is not Bitcoin mining we are talking about, guys. This is gold mining company, has suddenly announced that they want to buy 24,800 Bitcoin. So first of all, Tone, what do you think about this announcement? Will they basically do this? Because their whole valuation is not enough at this point of time. Well, now it is, but will they be able to do it? And do you think this is something that you expected from a gold miner?
Look, I would love to make an announcement that I would like to buy 24,000 Bitcoin also, right? The question is do they have the money to buy it? Now, the announcement alone, you know what this reminded me of? Back in 2017, I used to do this presentation called The Inevitable ICO Bubble. And then we got the ICO bubble and the presentation wasn't as cool anymore. But as part of that presentation, I had a slide where back in early 2017, when the word blockchain was all the hype, there was this company in Long Island. I think it was called Long Island Iced Tea or something like that. And they changed their name to the Long Island Blockchain. And the stock of that company went up like 5x or something insane. Just by changing their name. The company had nothing to do with the key, but suddenly they changed the name to be a technology company. And the reason this was in my slide is because I was comparing the companies and the statements and the headlines of 2017 ICOs to 1999 .coms. It was a mirror image, only now it's the blockchain. And now we may be entering a phase where a company announces how much Bitcoin they're going to buy, and the stock of the company goes way up, creating the financing that they need to buy the Bitcoin, which would be awesome. You know what? It doesn't matter what they announce. What matters is, are they actually going to buy 24,000, 25,000 Bitcoin? That's a lot of Bitcoin. That's a lot of money. I mean, just even if you take, 25,000, it's harder to do the math in your head, right? So if I'm going to say 25,000 Bitcoin times $50,000 per Bitcoin, so that's 100. Yeah, that's what, $11 billion?
And their valuation is nowhere near that. Their whole valuation is nowhere near that. I was laughing at when this news broke out. I was literally laughing.
I mean, is it 11? I think so. I think it's like 12 billion, right? Something like that.
Somewhere around that.
Someone has a calculator, they can do it. And maybe they can borrow that kind of money, but it's a crazy headline, right? Like if this was 2,480 Bitcoin, right? Maybe someone put a comma in the wrong place. This would be totally reasonable. So I don't take it seriously much at all. What really matters is, will they be buying it? Because that's what ultimately is going to keep the price up. The headline could raise the price of Bitcoin by $1,000. So what, right? Like it all evens out. The free market will resolve it. But if they're actually going to go out and buy it, that will sustainably raise the price by $5,000 to $10,000 because we're running. There's a shortage of Bitcoin between the ETFs buying, tens of thousands of Bitcoin, and now some random company going to buy 10,000 Bitcoin. What if Tesla decides to buy their 30,000 Bitcoin back? I mean, I think a real story like this is coming, but they're not going to announce it. They're just going to go and buy it because by
So
announcing it, you're raising the price of Bitcoin. I don't know this. It just reminded me of that blockchain headline. Yeah, I got a Google for it, and maybe I'll post it here.
so Ton, one thing is raising the price of Bitcoin by $1,000, $2,000, let's say. Another thing is raising your own stock's price by 1900% in a day. That's pure market manipulation. That's like, that's not even, in my opinion, that's not even meme coin-esque. That's beyond that. 1900% in a matter of, I think it was one day. Yep, in a matter of market open, basically. So stock price rose by 1900% in a day. And I put the tweet in the nest as well, just by an announcement like this could, and if they don't buy it, what do you think is going to be the repercussions of this, you know, pure market manipulation? This is worse than what Elon used to do for Dogecoin. Tone, you are muted.
Sorry, yeah, I was looking up. It's called, it was Long Island Iced Tea Company. There's a Wikipedia page for this. It was Long Island Iced Tea Corporation, and they changed it to Long Blockchain Corporation. It was hilarious. So, look, this is different, right? Changing the name from Long Island Iced Tea Corporation to Long Blockchain Corporation is probably a lot more manipulative, right? And I think that's more of a foul. This 19,000%. I mean, the percentage is irrelevant, right? The company was worth 1 penny, and then the company became 33 cents. It doesn't make that much of a material difference. Okay, it's kind of like if the temperature outside today is 1 degree, or 0 degrees, or 0.1 degree, almost zero, and tomorrow is going to be 100 times warmer. It's still going to be 2 degrees. Okay, so at some point, the percentage increase is generally insignificant and irrelevant in reality. It is still a 30-cent stock. And if they announced something that they are legitimately going to attempt to do, or it's something they've already found financing for, or maybe there are parent companies or ventures, or maybe they found an investor, I don't know, right? But if they make this announcement, and it's a legit announcement, it's not their fault that people speculated on their stock, as long as the announcement is true and not a lie. And somebody was going to be the first, and the second and the third will get a nice bump in their stock price. But I guarantee you that if some company, Long Island Grass Mowing Corporation changes their name to Long Island Blockchain Mower, it's not going to raise their stock price at all anymore, right? So, they did it early. They benefited. Great. Someone else should have done it first.
Tesla did it. Like they have announced a similar number to Tesla, and this kind of opens the door. I feel that, like, I know this news is not going to play out. I don't think they have the money to buy that much Bitcoin. I feel this is, as you said, that somebody has put an extra zero in the comma in the wrong place, or forgot to put a decimal somewhere. Whatever it is, I feel this kind of opens the door and anticipation of many more such news that will flow through of companies, smaller companies, not major companies, smaller companies trying to get their hands on Bitcoin. And we were discussing this, Tone, I think a month back, that there is a new company in basically very much similar to MicroStrategy in Australia, who are now trying to buy Bitcoin from collateralized loans. So it's starting to happen. Companies are figuring out what MicroStrategy is doing, and they're starting to follow the same path. So yeah, I'm looking forward to how it plays out. Tone, opinion on that? You're on mute, Tone.
Shit, sorry, man. I was getting messaged by a bunch of people. It's been a crazy day. Can you go back to Elon? I might have missed the actual question. My bad.
No, my question was like, Nilam Resources, the announcement that they made was similar to the amount of Bitcoin held by Tesla. So I am quite sure they can't buy that. But let's say this opens the door. This opens that speculative door or more companies coming in, because last month or 2-3 weeks back, we discussed about this Australian company that's following the MicroStrategy way of buying Bitcoin with collateralized loans. So do you think this is going to be something of a norm in the coming year, that these companies, not just big companies, smaller companies coming in and grabbing as much Bitcoin as they can?
I actually do, because Michael Saylor is exposing the fiat system and how the fiat system is collapsing. Just like some infrastructure in countries is collapsing. And more companies should do it. And a lot of companies are going to go bankrupt by doing it, right? Because by doing it now is probably okay. But if Bitcoin rallies to 140, 130 grand and a company does it and the Bitcoin corrects 50%, that company could be in serious trouble. So there are risks involved. Saylor recognized it early. He started early while everyone was making fun of him. Tesla sold 75% of their Bitcoin for stupid reasons. Tesla stock would be a lot higher today if they held on to all 40,000 of their Bitcoin. El Salvador is buying slowly and holding on to it. I think this is silly. I don't think this company will be able to buy 25,000 Bitcoin, but a company like NVIDIA could. Other big companies could. So I think it is going to happen. And if you're a small company, yeah, you should be able to do it. But I don't see how companies are different than individuals. I mean, individuals, it's a little bit different for individuals to borrow money. With companies, you also have responsibilities to your employees to make sure the company doesn't go bankrupt by speculative investment in the company. But it's a lot less, what's the word I'm looking for here? It's a lot less dangerous than, say, gambling with your family's money and leveraging out, taking out a second mortgage on your house and like putting it into Bitcoin, maxing out your credit cards. I mean, I know people that have done it and have benefited greatly from this kind of speculation in Bitcoin, but it's not something I would advise. But any money you have sitting on the sidelines, it should be put into Bitcoin. And if you have the ability to borrow money with collateral where you're personally not responsible for that collateral, yeah, this is probably something more people should consider doing if they are in position to use collateral that will not affect their personal life savings. And that's what Michael Saylor does with the collateral of MicroStrategy. And that's what probably 80% of all the companies can do. And what does the government do if so many companies are utilizing this scheme? I don't know. I don't know what the government is going to do. I still think that ultimately the government will dictate that Bitcoin is illegal and the most dangerous thing to humanity has ever existed. And that is why I have, made a bunch of arrangements not to be too close in the vicinity of the arm of the government that still can enforce this kind of thing. But we'll see where it goes. I'm still very concerned that every single Bitcoin transaction anyone has ever done will be considered illegal, and that person that has made that transaction declared, basically an enemy of the state. That is still one of my concerns. And if that day is to come, you're going to want people like Larry Fink on your side, not on the side of the government. You're going to want that billionaire to fight against the tyrannical government, not with the tyrannical government against you, because he has, seen the light and realized that Bitcoin is the future and not the government that he's a part of. So we'll see which way the world turns. And as don't want to turn this too political, but as the United States starts wars left and right, as the United States gets further into debt, as the interest on national debt become higher than all tax revenue collected, as more and more states stand up to the U.S. government, starting with Texas, the U.S. government loses more and more control as they continue to be questioned over election integrity, as they continue to be questioned over military superiority, over the people they put in charge of the Treasury Department and other departments. As these things come into question, less and less respect is given, less and less orders are followed. And this is why the eventual debate with Joe on whether America is a single nation in a decade is long overdue.
Oh yeah, that's on me. Sorry guys, I had to arrange it. Tone, I got your point. Don't worry, I'll do that. But Tone, I do get your point. By the way, guys, just breaking, not breaking, basically, Larry Fink was, as Tone was saying, he was on an interview, and there are a few comments from him about ETH ETF. So he was asked, like in the gist of it, he was asked whether if ETH is basically said as a security, so ETH becomes a security instead of being whatever they call it, a token or however they want to call that. What happens to the ETF? And he said, doesn't matter, they will still have it. So that's there just a small thing that just came out. So I had my eyes on it, and I was just wanted to share with you. So Tone, to hell with gold miners for a bit. Let's go on to Bitcoin. Let's go on to the real mining, the real asset which is scarce, which has all the qualities that gold or just wanted to have when it was made by God. Uh, Bull market is looking good. We are in a very, very healthy space, I feel, in a very healthy consolidation at this point of time in the last 2 days. And we are reaching the quarterly close in 3 days' time. Tone, we have had like amazing months in the last few months. Like price action has been really kind to us. What are you looking at? What do you think is next for Bitcoin?
Was muted. So I am actually very disappointed in how the public miners and their stocks have been performing, despite both new all-time highs in stocks and new all-time highs in Bitcoin. And that tells me that these publicly traded miners are likely in trouble. I don't think the free market would be this wrong for this long on the miners. So they could be in trouble. Now, we can debate whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, but the hash rate is not in trouble. The hash rate is as strong as ever. I saw the transaction fee has gotten really low, so the blocks are not full. Maybe the ordinal people are tired of spamming the blockchain. And things for Bitcoin are looking good, even if the miners are going to be in trouble. So that makes me more optimistic. It looks like, based on this news with Coinbase dropping the price so much, I may not get my 78,000 or higher before the halving. It's still possible. The price can go there. And now it's looking more like a consolidation in price into the halving in this $70,000 to $75,000 range going into the halving. And then after the halving, we're very likely to go significantly higher. Um,
But Tone, would you be happy with this consolidation? Like personally, I would love this consolidation to go through the halving, take another month, just stay here, don't do anything, reset each and every momentum indicator that is there in existence of technical analysis, and then show the real move after liquidating the longs once. Like liquidate the longs, get all the momentum you need, and then go higher. Like I would love a consolidation right now. Like from TA perspective, do you think that's a good way to see it right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's just as good of a scenario as going up and then pulling back into the halving. The reason I would rather see us rise into the mid $80,000 price range. Well, one reason is because I kind of expected that several weeks ago, and I've been talking about it. So I'd like to be more right on the price movement. That's reason number one. And reason number two is because it'll like allow me to exit a little bit and then buy in cheaper. But consolidation at these prices into the halving is probably the more likely scenario. There's nothing wrong with that. As long as Bitcoin stays above even, I was going to say 50,000, but I don't really want to see Bitcoin go below 60 again. As long as Bitcoin stays above 60, it's better than I would have ever thought. If you asked me early this year or last year, when I made my projections, we're sitting higher than I thought we would at this point in time. So, of course, I'm happy with these prices. And I'm starting to be a believer that on this upcoming cycle, we can go significantly higher. I mean, lots of people thought we were going to go to 250, 300,000 on the last cycle. And those lofty estimates came up very, very short. I think because we came up so short on the last cycle, it's very possible we overshoot. And if we overshoot, I mean, we are talking 500,000 or higher. That's a real overshoot. If this bull cycle stops us at quarter mil, I'm not going to say that was an overshoot. I'm going to say that was within a realistic possibility. An overshoot would be over 500K. That's an overshoot.
I agree with you, Ton. Totally agree. I feel, I mean, this was my eyes were open to this sort of an analysis that you just said by in our research group. I think Zezo or someone was talking about their target, and they were like 240,000, 247 to be precise. And I was like, how are you coming up with this target? So I started looking at the chart, trying to figure out how can this be? And then suddenly you realize that the whole of last cycle, not the 2021 one, not I don't call that a bull cycle. 2019, 28, and 2019 point. You see the whole cycle, you draw the Fibonacci, we retrace perfectly into 0 point, the golden pocket, which is my trading style. So I love that of trading. And if something like this happens, I always aim for that 2.618 mark. And that is sitting precisely at 247,000. So hopefully that is the price where we reach. If we do, that would be lovely. Kapoor, welcome to the spaces. It's been a while we haven't seen you here. How are you doing?
Hey guys, what's up? How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good.
Nice. Yeah, guys, like lovely conversation. I was listening to that nylon resources thing as well. Like, so I wanted to like ask Tone as well. What's happening with this is every single firm I believe in the bull run is going to use this as a publicity stunt and make sure that they're getting their name out there. Do you think it's going to happen? And do you think someone's going to come and like stop them, Tone? What
What
do
do you
you
mean
think?
stop them? You mean like a regulator?
Yeah, like a regulator coming in and saying that, oh, you're using this as a marketing technique and you're increasing your price by 1900% in a day. Like that's 50x.
I don't think so because I don't think it's going to happen again. The next time somebody does it, it's not going to go up that much. And, companies can announce whatever they like, right? I think that I don't think it's going to have much of an effect. That's the thing. At the end of the day, it's going to be about who's actually buying it, not who's talking about buying it. So
Yeah, true.
we'll see. But now that it happened once, maybe it'll happen again. And I guess they could be fined after the fact. It's like, hey, you announced you're going to buy it, your stock went up, but you didn't buy it. So that maybe they could be fined. Maybe the SEC is going to send out letters to every company. I don't think so. Maybe the SEC will make an announcement that if we identify you like this is a violation, but I'm not sure. I'm not this question for like a Joe Calasari or somebody else, or
Yeah.
a securities lawyer that knows what companies can and can't say. And if this doesn't fall into the realm of what they can't say, then the SEC would need to come up with new guidance and new announcements, and that's going to take a little bit of time. But yeah, like I said, it goes back to the Long Island iced tea becoming Long Island blockchain iced tea. It works once or twice, and then everyone ignores it.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. You guys were talking about the price action as well for Bitcoin. I don't have a target, but I think what's happening is like this is the halving period, the most important period. How many days have you got? Less than 30 days now. I think 24 days for the halving. We're like 30 according to Rec Capital. So I posted this tweet in the nest as well, which is a third one from Rec Capital. According to that fractal, which is a really good fractal, like this guy is really good for fractals. You've the 30 it's a bull market is over 35% now, and we are entering the phase 2, and this is the time when the pre-halving correction happens, and Bitcoin is in that zone right now. We've already retraced like 18%, and we've been into 5 corrections this bull market, and every single one of them have been from 18 to 25 23%. That's the range. So even if we go lower, I was like listening to you, Don. Do you like really want to risk selling some of the stuff and then buying it again? Or do you want to just hold it because you know that there is still like 70% of the bull market left and you shouldn't be timing the market right now? What do you say?
I think it's always better to hold it. This is why I also own unconfiscatable.com. So it's always better to hold it. But, there are times where you're waiting for a certain price because you have to use that money in some other ways. If you've been meaning to buy a car, you're like, you know what? Let me wait. If you want to take that vacation. So what I always recommend to people is if the price is going up exponentially, that's the time to cash out and use that money for something and that you always wanted. Like increase your standard of living. And if it drops after that, if you happen to have some other disposable money you can put back in, do it. But I don't fault anyone for holding through the bear cycle. It's not that easy picking the top, especially right now. I do think that the bull market is just getting started. So exiting at 84 and trying to time it to buy it back at say 55 or 60, it may not be worth it. But if the price of Bitcoin is, sitting over a quarter mil by February of next year, you may want to take some off the table then, because I do think a more lengthy bear market is likely to come.
No, that makes sense. Like I've got an exit plan which has like, so because I'm sticking with this thesis, which is like 35% of the bull market is done. I want to start cashing out when we enter the phase three, which is 100 days from now. And that is when I want to like dollar cost average cash out from my portfolio, the profits, because unrealized profit is not your profit, obviously. So this is what I am looking for.
Well, I thought you were never going to sell.
But yeah, no, I'm gonna sell. Why am I not gonna sell? Take profits 100%. Like ETFs are looking super good. Like so, last week people were scared with the flows.
Well,
Last week people were
I
like,
wanted
"Oh,
to
we're
I wanted to ask that to Tone. So Tone, obviously, Kapoor, I'll come back to you once Tone has given us at least a little bit of brief about what he's looking at, and then I want to bring you in. But Tone, last week's ETF flows numbers are in. I'm quite sure your spreadsheet is as mint as possible. What are you looking at? What do you saw last week?
So what
You're
I saw
muted.
last, oh, yeah, what I saw last week was a very large amount of selling from GBTC. And my assumption is that selling was forced. It was, companies that had to liquidate GBTC from their other problems that those companies were having. I don't know if they sold it all or they have more to sell. So I have not really paid much attention this week. I'm just like, I'll do it maybe tomorrow. Though I can go and take a look. Today's Wednesday. It's only going to be 2 days worth of data. I don't think it's enough info to really judge the rest of the week. But I'm really curious what's going to happen this week. And I think this week there will be positive inflows into the ETF. Not by much, but slight positive. Maybe 5 to 9,000 positive net flow into the ETF. While GBTC will still manage to sell 15 to 20,000 Bitcoin. But eventually, 2-3 months from now, GBTC will not have 20, 30,000 more Bitcoin to sell. And then things can really get rolling. All right. And on that note, I'm going to give it a Kapoor because I was really curious what he has to say.
Oh, about the flows. Yeah, I've been checking the flows. Like last week, people were talking about the diminishing or negative outflows. Sorry. So, but it was diminishing, which was a really good news. And suddenly, in the last couple of days, one thing I've noticed is that Fidelity is taking charge now. Fidelity is taking the lead, and it's literally saving the day for everyone. So not on Friday, Monday, we had 15 mil of inflows. That's it. But Fidelity had 261 mil, which is like amazing. Yes, we are getting GBTC outflows, but we need to remember that they're left with like less than 50% now of their holding. So that is going to decrease at a really, really fast pace. And once that is done, I don't even know like if there is a big seller then. Yes, long-term holders are distributing right now to short-term holders, and there is a minor sell-off, let's say. But after GBTC, I'm not even sure like if there is a big seller. Like, do you recall any big seller which is going to come after GBTC?
I do not.
Yeah, exactly. Like if we don't have a big seller after GBTC, then what's going to happen is we're going to like enter the full-fledged bull market because these inflows into the ETFs are not going to stop. Yes, they might become irrelevant to normal people. Like we won't be looking at the numbers every single day, but it's going to be passive flows coming in into an asset. And right now, if I look at Dune Analytics, which is showing me that 4.8% of total Bitcoin supply right now is in the ETFs, and we have only been like how many, 2.5 or 3 months in since the launch. That is super crazy to imagine. Like you, in 1 year, it's gonna be 12%, and during the bear market, people are gonna sell, but these TradeFi people, these institutions will keep on accumulating, and the supply towards the ETF will like keep on increasing as well. So, Tone, what number do you think like total Bitcoin supply will be in the ETFs after 1 year? What do you think? How much percentage?
After 1 year, ETF supply, I would expect. So right now, we're probably
Right.
sitting at about 800,000 Bitcoin. I think it can double. I think we could be looking at 2 million Bitcoin in ETFs, 10% of total Bitcoin.
But Tone, did you take into account when you were basically getting to this number that not any institution officially is right now a participant. Morgan Stanley is still waiting for approval. A few others are still waiting for approval for this to be added to their funds. So won't that number be much higher than double? Because once they step in, that's the real money.
Well, right, but are you factoring in that how much the price of Bitcoin would go up when it's 2 million Bitcoin in the ETFs?
True, true, true.
Yeah.
That I was not. So yeah, that could very
Yeah.
well be the case. And also, Tone, like you have been part of like big banks, like you have been on the trading desk. When a big player buys a stock, they're buying it for the long run, right? They're not just buying it for one bull cycle and we are going to be out. How do they position? Like, do you think these guys are going to be selling at the top of the market, or do you think they will hedge themselves with options?
Right. So here's the thing. The majority of the players buying into the Bitcoin ETFs are not the big players. They are the smaller players. They're not the big players. The Bitcoin market cap is still not big enough, and they don't have enough control. So I don't think the big players are buying the ETFs yet. Now, when a big player buys into Apple stock or Nvidia stock, they're in it for years. They're not actively trading it. They're in it for years. So in this case, people that are buying these ETFs, I don't think they're in it for years. I think they will be selling when they feel the market has reached the top. And that is also very concerning because the next time there's a Bitcoin bear market, these ETFs are going to be dumping Bitcoin on the open market. So the next bear market could be swift and brutal. So let's enjoy the bull market when it comes. And obviously, the higher we go on this bull market, the more we can weather the storm. So ideally, the price of Bitcoin on this bull market does break 500,000 a Bitcoin, maybe gets to 600,000 or 700,000 a Bitcoin. So when the painful bear market comes, it still keeps us above 100K on the way down.
Yeah, you okay? So you're targeting 500K. That's yeah. I'm really really conservative like with my target in the bull market. Why? Because I want to be as well. I want to be because I want to make sure that I'm realizing the profits and I'm taking money home. That's like my first aim. And I was reading a tweet from a big guy. I forgot the handle. I would have loved to share it here. So it said that if you're in the second or third innings of if you're in the second or third innings, which means if this is your second or third bull market cycle in crypto, then you need to understand that there can be some overconfidence, and I don't want to come into that phase. Like this is my second one, and Tone, you're like OG. You know how to play this game, right? For me, I can go into overconfidence. I believe that. So I'm gonna make sure that I start cashing out early, and I have a conservative target. Like, and I would advise that to people as well. Like, if it's your first cycle, you should like make sure you have a conservative target, not for like Bitcoin, but for your portfolio. You should cash out.
Yep. Don't
Not right
don't
now.
don't. If you're a new player but you're a very rich player, don't cash out, mate. Please don't dump your Bitcoin on us. If you wanna give it to me, I'll send you the address. Send it over as a donation. I'll accept it. Completely fine. But Tone, Kapoor, that was a great conversation in regards of Bitcoin price, in regards of ETFs, in regards of all the information that you guys could send. And then because of that lovely, insightful conversation, problem solver says bullshit and who cares? I have no idea, mate, what that is for, but thank you so much for the comment. Uh, moving on to the next topic that we have, Coinbase, Tone. Coinbase. A lot of news have come out. I would have loved Joe to be around. Should we keep Coinbase for Saturday, Tone, when Joe is around? Because I so want to go deep down into it. But if you want to give us a
Let's
brief,
hold off. Let's save that topic for later. I mean, I have maybe 30 more minutes for the space. I would like to stop before the top of the hour. I have to go speak at an event later today in Miami. For those listening, if you are in Miami, I'm going to retweet right now. Maybe I'll throw it up in the nest where I'm speaking today. It's on South Beach. So come down. Ticket prices are not expensive. I think it's like $150 for 2 tickets. So $75 a person for the event. It's a great networking event. I'll throw it up in the nest. But let's skip the Coinbase topic for now. Let's go with what else you had on the agenda.
okay, no, that's why I asked you. Like, let's skip that. Let's move on to, well, the next topic again. Tone is SEC, but this time we don't need Joe because I have a question for you. SEC has been made to look like a clown forever, right? Then suddenly the switch has flipped, and SEC is right now kind of in a better state. They basically put up a case against Qcoin, both founders, for all the same charges that they kind of had for
trading it. They're in it for years. So in this case, people that are buying these ETFs, I don't think they're in it for years. I think they will be selling when they feel the market has reached the top. And that is also very concerning because the next time there's a Bitcoin bear market, these ETFs are going to be dumping Bitcoin on the open market. So the next bear market could be swift and brutal. So let's enjoy the bull market when it comes. And obviously, the higher we go on this bull market, the more we can weather the storm. So ideally, So ideally, the price of Bitcoin on this bull market does break 500,000 a Bitcoin, maybe gets to 600,000 or 700,000 a Bitcoin. So when the painful bear market comes, it still keeps us above 100K on the way down.
Yeah, okay? So you're targeting 500K. That's yeah. I'm really conservative, like with my target in the bull market. Why? Because I want to be as well. I want to be because I want to make sure that I'm realizing the profits and I'm taking money home. That's like my first aim. And I was reading a tweet from a big guy. I forgot the handle. I would have loved to share it here. So it said that if you're in the second or third innings of if you're in the second or third innings, which means if this is your second or third bull market cycle in crypto, then you need to understand that there can be some overconfidence, and I don't want to come into that phase. Like this is my second one, and Tone, you're like OG. You know how to play this game, right? For me, I can go into overconfidence. I believe that. So I'm gonna make sure that I start cashing out early and I have a conservative target. Like, and I would advise that to people as well. Like, if it's your first cycle, you should like make sure you have a conservative target, not for like Bitcoin, but for your portfolio. You should cash out.
Yep,
Not right now.
don't if you're a new player but you're a very rich player, don't cash out, mate. Please don't dump your Bitcoin on us. If you wanna give it to me, I'll send you the address, send it over as a donation, I'll accept it. Completely fine. But Tone, Kapoor, that was a great conversation in regards of Bitcoin price, in regards of ETFs, in regards of all the information that you guys could send. And then because of that lovely, insightful conversation, problem solver says bullshit and who cares? I have no idea, mate, what that is for, but thank you so much for the comment. Uh, moving on to the next topic that we have, Coinbase, Tone. Coinbase. A lot of news have come out. I would have loved Joe to be around. Should we keep Coinbase for Saturday, Tone, when Joe is around? Because I so want to go deep down into it. But if you want to give us a
Let's
brief,
hold off. Let's save that topic for later. I mean, I have maybe 30 more minutes for the space. I would like to stop before the top of the hour. I have to go speak at an event later today in Miami. For those listening, if you are in Miami, I'm going to retweet right now. Maybe I'll throw it up in the nest where I'm speaking today. It's on South Beach. So come down. Ticket prices are not expensive. I think it's like $150 for 2 tickets. So $75 a person for the event. It's a great networking event. I'll throw it up in the nest. But let's skip the Coinbase topic for now. Let's go with what else you had on the agenda.
okay, no, that's why I asked you. Like, let's skip that. Let's move on to the next topic again. Tone is SEC, but this time we don't need Joe because I have a question for you. SEC has been made to look like a clown forever, right? Then suddenly the switch has flipped, and SEC is right now kind of in a better state. They basically put up a case against Qcoin, both founders, for all the same charges that they kind of had for Binance. So they basically have a green light for that. And then this whole Ethereum is a security bet, and then the ETH Foundation bet. Do you think SEC is getting their act together in regards of getting the right cases out now?
I'm not going to go that far, right? I mean, the SEC is getting a little bit smarter after they lost a few cases. So they could be getting their act together. But let's see what happens. I mean, the KuCoin case is still going on. I haven't really kept up with it. Let's see how they do in the Coinbase case. I actually think that the SEC has a weak case against Coinbase. But let's see if the SEC could win this one.
Happy to give my take on it. Read the complaint this morning. I think the Coinbase is very likely to lose this case against the SEC. The idea that none of these tokens are going to be found to be securities I think it's just a really tall order. The best shot that Coinbase had at defeating that was an argument that they pulled from the Ripple decision, that the theory of an investment contract, which is the type of security that a crypto token would be, requires some kind of direct communication from the person who's creating the token with the person who's buying it. That's sort of what the Ripple judge suggested and would have been the best argument to get Coinbase's secondary sales off the hook. The judge today, in the denying the motion to dismiss, directly rejected that argument and sided with a much more respected SDNY judge who, in the Terra Luna case, had the sort of traditional theory of a token can be sold as security even on secondary markets. So I sort of think that, like, in terms of overall who's going to win the case, Coinbase's sort of goose is cooked here. That's definitely not what you will hear broadly in the crypto industry. But I think this is like a really big, important case that people are not paying enough attention to.
Well, thank you, Zach. Kapoor, you want to add something?
Oh yeah, I mean, I completely agree to that. I was going to say that, like, so what happened today was Judge Fila literally denied Coinbase's motion, and they dismissed it, and they were like, okay, so SEC can continue the case against the firm. But what's happening is, I think there is a clearance as well. Right now, there is a clearance happening because SEC has realized that we have to make sure that this industry works, and because they can't control it, no, they cannot stop it. How they can control is by making sure that Coinbase is the clear winner. And I believe that Coinbase has to be the clear winner, and that is going to be the win for the government as well. Like, do you guys believe in that? Tone, do you believe in that? Like, Coinbase has to be the clear winner here, not in the case, but as an exchange in the US. That's what they're paving the road for.
No, not at all. I don't. I honestly, I think if Coinbase loses this case, it's almost good for Coinbase. Almost. I'm just saying almost. It's not bad. Like, Coinbase needs to go back to a proper core business. Zach, I know you're a lawyer, and you're definitely more knowledgeable than me on this. But when this case broke against Coinbase, I thought it was crazy. I thought that the Ripple case should have been a lot easier for the SEC. The SEC, to me, maybe I'm wrong here, is accusing Coinbase of dealing with tokens that are, they're saying, securities, before the SEC has proven that they are securities. And to me, I think Coinbase has a good shot at making the SEC look stupid in this case. Yes, they wanted it dismissed because of how I think silly these accusations are by the SEC. The SEC needs to first establish what is and isn't the security. And they can't even do it with Ripple. They certainly can't do it with Ethereum. They can't even do it with a bunch of stuff that's obviously a security. And now they decided to go after Coinbase for trading and stuff. The SEC can't even prove that are securities. So I understand why the judge didn't want to throw it out. But I think Coinbase has a great shot at winning this case. But I would love to hear more from you on this. And if the SEC, even if the SEC loses this case, it forces the SEC to stop dealing in shitcoins and focus on things that are important. So yes, their stock will suffer a lot, but maybe their core business would, come back to reality, and maybe I'll give them a little more respect, thanks to the SEC winning this case. But I have very low expectations for the SEC on this one.
So let's do this. Sorry, Zach. Zach, would you be available on Saturday as well? Because I want to have Joe and you then explain to us what are SEC trying to do everywhere, CFTC as well as SEC. So if you are available on Saturday, the space that we hold on Saturday, that would be lovely trying to discuss it in detail. Yes, I will surely message you. But yes, please give your brief about what Tone asked.
I want to say, one thing I agree with Tone on is that it should have been easier for the SEC to win the Ripple case. I was very surprised that the case came out the other way. Like, to be transparent, I think the reason the case came out the other way is because the judge issued a really stupid opinion. I don't think that is, like, the SEC hasn't done an amazing job in the Ripple case, but they should have won. The judge, I think, was pretty confused on the law. I think the ruling we saw today in the Coinbase case is a very strong signal that the ruling in the Ripple case is going to get overturned by the Court of Appeals. It is like nothing like any of the other rulings we've seen in federal court about how securities law applies to tokens. And Tone, the reason they're going after Coinbase instead of going after these projects individually is because they're really stacking the deck in their favor, right? If you go against one of these projects one by one, you'll be tied up in litigation for years with each of them. These are generally very well-funded projects, each fight their own battle. Whereas in order to win the case against Coinbase, you just need to show that one out of the 11 or 16 tokens or whatever is a security, right? And that's a pretty low bar. And they both include like big names like Solana and Polygon, stuff like that, and then a bunch of like bottom of the barrel shitcoins. And so the idea that like Coinbase, like they are going to litigate case, which of these things are securities? Like that question will directly come up now that the case hasn't been dismissed. And the idea that Coinbase is going to win on every single one of those shitcoins seems very unlikely to me.
Okay, yeah, so that gives me a little bit of clarity. So that's yeah. So of course, most of those things are securities, but that's what I was kind of expecting. I expected, the SEC to have a better underlying case, makes turn something substantial into a security, and maybe
But
Ripple
it's a great underlying case. If any of those shitcoins are securities, the SEC wins this case.
Okay, and then what does Coinbase have to do?
And then they have to stop. Well, that's the tricky part, right? If Coinbase loses, right, which I fully expect, then the question is, okay, the SEC has made their case that at least one of these was a security, and therefore Coinbase was operating as an unregistered securities exchange. Then Coinbase has to go and figure out which of the, I think at this point, thousands of tokens on their exchanges are securities or not, which is something the SEC is not at all interested in helping out with, right? And it's figured out on this sort of fact by fact, how we test basis. There's not like a bright line rule. And I actually think it could get really dark for non-Bitcoin crypto in the United States if the SEC wins, this case against Coinbase or the Kraken or Binance suits, which are pretty much the same lawsuit. I think you will then see the SEC, emboldened by the win against Coinbase, actually start to go after some of these token issuers. Right in the background, we know there are investigations into different tokens. But yeah, it will be weird and very difficult for crypto. I would expect the substantive ruling in this case to mark either maybe the turning point that ends this bull run or maybe the bottom of the next bear market, depending on when the decision comes out. But it will be very bad for crypto.
So, okay, as much as I hate shitcoins, this is kind of effed up by the SEC and the court system that they basically took a shotgun approach. They randomly named 10 or 12 tokens. They're now saying as long as one of them happens to be a security, now Coinbase is responsible of figuring out what is and isn't a security.
Totally.
This seems insane to me and a complete overreach of SEC's power. SEC needs to figure out what is and isn't a security, and then inform Coinbase directly. To me, they would need a substantial majority of the 12 tokens they named to be identified as securities for the SEC to actually lose this case. To me, it feels like if they can prove one of them is a security, some bottom feeder shitcoin, then the Coinbase should just face a fine, delist that one token, and make an effort to work with the SEC to delist very similar tokens to that token. And the SEC needs to provide a clear guideline as to which other tokens fit the identical criteria of that one shitcoin that they were able to prove as a security in the shotgun approach. I think the SEC can fight this because this is a gross overreach. And I hate Coinbase and I hate shitcoins. And the SEC is once again doing something stupid.
So Coinbase has a separate lawsuit that it filed against the SEC, making exactly that point. Listen, we'd be happy to comply with whatever you think the rule is. Please give us some guidance on which of these tokens are securities or not. The SEC has said no. And if you ask each side why the SEC is going to give an answer, the SEC will say, technically correctly, it's not within their power to determine which of these tokens are being sold as securities. It's a case-by-case basis that would have to be determined by courts. Which is technically true, but they could certainly provide some guidance about how they see it and not go after Coinbase in the shotgun approach. If you ask, why is the SEC actually doing this? In the background, it's because they have this, from Coinbase's point of view, the SEC has this turf war with the CFTC where they're trying to control, through their jurisdiction as much as crypto as possible. They want to be the prime regulator of crypto. And if they were to draw a bright line around, here's what you have to do to not be a security, then everyone would hire lawyers like me to help dance through that loophole, and the SEC wouldn't be able to regulate much of anything. That's why I think we're seeing this whole business with the Ethereum ETF. I don't think the SEC thinks that at this point in time, Ether is a security. I think they know they would lose in court, but they don't want to admit out loud at this point that they agree that Ethereum is a commodity, because that would pave a roadmap for how other tokens could follow Ether to go from being, a security at their ICO to then decentralizing into being not a security.
Well,
yeah, well, I think we're going to move on from this topic, but
Yeah. So don't. Yeah, go on.
One last comment. If I was a consultant for the SEC, I would advise them to put all their efforts in trying to prove that Ethereum is a security. And the reason is and do a better job than they did with Ripple, for God's sake. And the reason for that is because if they succeed, they win. Everything is a security other than Bitcoin, if they can prove that Ethereum is a security. And if they lose, it doesn't matter. They're too incompetent to prove shit coins are securities anyway. And I don't think this Coinbase, even if they win against Coinbase, I don't think they're going to get what they want anyway. I think putting all their eggs in one basket on Ethereum is the proper way to go.
Yeah, just one comment on that. I think what you said would be very politically difficult for Gary Gensler and the SEC. First, because everyone agrees, like everyone who understands crypto law, one thing we all agree on is that at the time of the ICO, that was an unregistered securities offering. There's no question about it. And the SEC did not bring that case, and they let the statute of limitations run to the point where now, even if they wanted to, they could not bring a case based on the ETH ICO. It was just simply too long ago. And then, like today, like every hearing that Gary Gensler is at, he's asked by Republican lawmakers, is ETH a security? He has to do this whole dance, and it really looked for him. And if now they outright brought a case to try and declare, ETH as currently constituted security, I think that would be such a just like reputational hit for that. It's not worth it. They might try and have like a state regulator do it. That's the rumors we heard last week, that the Ethereum Foundation got an inquiry from a state regulator about their securities law status once they moved to proof of stake. My guess is that is sort of a pretext to deny the ETH ETF, not a serious case by the SEC, but like it would be such a bad look for Gensler to try and fight ETH in court, I think, at this point.
That's interesting, because I'm actually on the other side of that, right? If Gary Gensler brings a case against Ethereum, he can go back and say, well, you were asking me questions about something we are looking to file a case against, and I didn't want to comment on an open investigation before we brought a case. And now that we are in the middle of the case, whether Ethereum is a security, I can tell you that I believe Ethereum is a security, and this is why we are trying to prove in court that Ethereum is a security. And if we fail to prove that Ethereum is a security, I'm happy to move on to another job, because Gary Gensler knows Ethereum is a goddamn security.
Who are you going to sue?
Well, no, they're not suing anyone. They just have to prove it in court that Ethereum is a security.
But you need to have a lawsuit to prove in court. Who would you sue to have that lawsuit? Like they could have, in the Coinbase case, included ETH on their list of tokens, chose not to.
Well, they can sue the Ethereum Foundation. That's an actual entity.
But then what would happen? Let's say they won the case. Can the Ethereum Foundation single-handedly like shut down ETH at this point? Right? Delisted from DEXs and all the places that Ethereum trades.
Well, no, but then all other exchanges like Coinbase have to delist it.
Sure. I mean, you could seek that ruling. My personal view is the SEC would lose that lawsuit. I think at this moment in time, the better legal argument is that ETH is no longer a security, right? The reason is, if you look at the Howey test, it asks if you're buying something based on a bull thesis for that thing, an expectation of profit. Is your bull thesis based on work that is done by a particular group of people? I think at this point, people who are betting on ETH are betting on the broader ecosystem and not specifically the work of Vitalik or of the Ethereum Foundation or any particular group.
But won't that be the case for Solana as well?
No, I think
Solana is doing the same.
I think Solana is basically a startup, right? I live in New York City. Solana has big offices here. Like, I think Solana, they have a foundation offshore, but like, I think the sort of Solana labs and the Solana Foundation are much more core to, if you're a Sol bull, they're much more core to your thesis that Sol is going to go up than Vitalik or the Ethereum Foundation are for ETH tokens at this point.
Cool. I think we have just 1 minute left from Tone's time. Tone, if I'm not wrong.
No, I got 15.
Okay, he's got 15. So yeah, cool. Anything else you guys want to add on to this topic? Because this topic is coming back on Saturday when Joe's here, Zach's here, and it's going to be a quiet space for me because I'm going to say Coinbase, SEC, and you guys will go on. So that would be perfect for me.
Two more minor points about this case. The part of the case people, like everyone talked about the token part of this case, and that is the most important. There is, two other parts of the ruling that are, I think, important, one particularly for Bitcoin. The first is the judge did dismiss one piece of the SEC's case against Coinbase relating to Coinbase's wallet. What the SEC was saying is that Coinbase, through its wallet, was illegally acting as a brokerage because the wallet allowed you to access security tokens through DEXs. Because the wallet was non-custodial and Coinbase through its wallet was never in custody of those assets, the judge found that as a matter of law, they were not acting as a brokerage. That's, I think, a really, like, it's good news for DeFi. It's good news for things like federated mints, drawing the distinction between non-custodial peer-to-peer finance products and custodial products that are regulated like financial institutions. And I think we should be, whether you're a crypto person or a Bitcoiner, I think you should be happy about that part of the ruling. And then there's this other interesting part of the ruling, other than about the tokens, about Coinbase's staking product. So the question is, like, a lot of people talk about, is ETH a security now that it has proof of stake and yield? My personal view is that, like, staking ETH itself, if you're running a validator node, does not constitute a securities offering. You're essentially providing a service to the Ethereum network in terms of validation and getting paid for it, similar to if you're a Bitcoin miner and you're providing proof of work. However, the Coinbase system does the staking for you, right? And they take a part of the staking rewards. And the judge found that, like, at least as the SEC pleaded, Coinbase did have enough judgment in how it did your staking and how likely you are to get slashed and how much of a reward you get, that their custodial staking product constitutes a securities offering. And I think on one side you've got real ETH validator nodes, at the other you've got custodial programs like Coinbase's, and there's this whole interesting group in the middle with like Lido and Rocket Pool and liquid staking derivatives, where I think the law is going to sort of have to become clearer over time for the future of, like, what does proof of stake mean under US law.
Yeah, and I'll throw my 2 cents in there as well. See, to me, the whole move to proof of stake is what makes the Ethereum Foundation the centralized entity that brings value to Ethereum through the profit of others and the rest of their roadmap. And if that roadmap is interrupted by significantly limiting what the people that made the roadmap can actually do, I think that puts a huge wrench in Ethereum and proves how centralized it is. But we don't have to go back and forth on that. But my final kind of comment.
That's the other side of the argument. I think that's a reasonable counter argument to what I said.
But my actual closing point is, I think this news is a temporary bump in the price of Bitcoin. I don't think this affects Bitcoin all that much. And look, it's correlation, cause and effect. I don't know, maybe Bitcoin price was going to drop today after it started rising so fast this morning. Maybe it would have dropped with no news whatsoever, and we would be making up the news as to why it's falling. But I think that this news is going to blow over in the next couple of days. Everyone's going to forget about it. They're going to realize it has to do with shitcoins. It has nothing. It doesn't affect. It's not going to shut down the Coinbase business. They're going to remain the custodian for all the ETFs. And I think everything will be back to what it was. We'll level off again at 70,000 and then try to break out one more time. I don't think this has any long-term effects on the price of Bitcoin beyond a day or two.
Well, true. I agree. With every small red day comes a nice news. So yeah, that's part and parcel, I guess. So Tone, last thing before I leave you for the day, S&P, NASDAQ, how are they looking to you? What do you feel is happening? And what are you expecting for the rest of the week?
They're looking great to me. I'm still bullish on the traditional market. I know people are freaking out with how much debt the U.S. government is taking on and how a big stock market crash and a recession is around the corner. The U.S. economy is not doing well, and Japan is about to implode for the 520th time since 1990. And I don't know. To me, the markets and the charts, everything looks bullish. People still have money hidden somewhere, and there is only one place that it's going to, and that's stock market and hopefully Bitcoin. I see gold continuing to rise higher as well. And the big problem is in government bonds. I think shit is going to hit the fan really badly. And a lot of these investors in government bonds, like the pension funds, they're going to have to alter their, terms of service. And they're going to have to say, you know what, we're done with this shit. And we're going to start speculating in stocks and Bitcoin and gold and whatever else we want to do. And the U.S. government is going to run into a problem of who do you sell the bonds to? Because China ain't buying, Russia ain't buying, India is probably not buying, and Europe can only buy so many. And this is what I've been talking about for years, and now it's like we're getting right into the middle of it, and this is going to be the big point of discussion. I think next year, the big topic on TV is going to be who's going to buy government bonds.
I know the answer. No one. But don't remember, you did miss the most outperforming asset of this cycle. Cocoa ran like
Oh
crazy.
God.
If you are a chocolate lover, if you are a hot chocolate in the morning person, you need to look at your bank account again. You are losing money, mate. It's expensive now. Tone, thank you so much for your time. I'm looking forward to talking to you about Coinbase, about CFTC, and a lot more topics this Saturday. I'm going to make sure Joe comes in, no matter if he has to cancel the lunch with his wife on Saturday afternoon. I'll make sure he comes. There's a lot to happen, guys. See you all on Saturday. Tone, any closing comments?
No, I'm good. Just want to do a shout out to everyone that's listening. I see Jimmy in the audience. Run Right Fly. Zach, thanks for joining us. I see Sharon, Red Fox. Recognize a lot of people here today. So awesome. Thank you very much, guys, for joining. If you're on South Beach, come down to SLS. Later tonight, I'll be speaking. And otherwise, I'll see many people in El Salvador in about a week.
Take care, guys. Bye bye. Thank you, Tone.
Bye, guys.